Hello guys, welcome back to my Colorguard YouTube channel. Today we have yet another tutorial for you. Today we're going to be specializing in the world of tricks. Specifically, we're going to talk about singular turns and double turns underneath tosses. So I'm going to teach you how to be able to do just any tricks in general, how to separate those underneath your tosses, and then specifically how to do your single turn and your double turn. So let's get started. So first things first, with any kind of tricks, if you're just learning them in general, I would suggest picking your favorite or most comfortable piece of equipment. For me, it's my rifle. I'm most comfortable doing tosses on that. For you, if you can toss higher on flag than you can on rifle, or you're just more comfortable, choose flag. If saber, choose saber. Main thing is, know what you're tossing. For flag, I suggest a double, just a standard double, or a strip toss. For rifle, I'd suggest starting with a 6 or a 7. If you cannot achieve that, I would suggest sticking with flag. Same thing with saber. Okay, now let's get into how we do tricks underneath our tosses. So first things first, with any kind of tricks, we have what I call my trick rule, is we always have 3 separate things. We have our toss, our trick, and then our catch. There are 3 separate motions, 3 separate ideas. If we blend them together, that's how people or we get hurt doing our tricks. So it's important that we first toss a standard toss. If you're tossing a 6, just toss a normal 6. Then separately, after it's in the air and it's reaching its peak, which we'll talk about, I do my trick, and then I'll spot it as it's coming down, so I have my catch. So that's the 3-part steps for any trick you're doing. For a turn, we're going to talk about that. So first things first, with a turn, I have my peak counts. So you want to think about any kind of toss. Your peak is when it goes up. As all things go up, they must come down. So a peak is when it's going up and it's at its peak and it's about to come back down. That's when your best time to start your trick or be doing your trick is right at that peak, so that way you can spot it. So if you maybe tossed wrong or it's windy, you can save yourself for your trick. So let's break that down. So first, I'm going to give you an example of a 5 to show you guys how you can count your peak counts. It'll be different for every toss. This is usually for on the weapon side. For flag, usually you just have 1 rotation. If it's double, you have another and it comes down. So that's very easy to see your peak, but for weapon it can be a little harder. So I'm going to show you a 5. For a 5, I was taught to count your rotations, but I am better with words. So I say 1, float, fall, catch. So your rotation as it's going up, its peak, its fall is when it's coming back down after its peak, and then your catch. So I'll show you how that looks. 5 and 6 and 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, float, fall, catch. So now that I've showed you how to count your peak counts if you're doing this on weapon, flags you should be fine. I'm now going to explain how to break down how to do a turn specifically. Remember, don't forget, if you're doing this on weapon, the peak counts will be your best friend, as well as the breakdown of toss, trick, and then catch, because that will also translate into how we do our turn. So let's break down how to do this turn. So you're going to look at my feet for a sec. So with your turn, most people start in a second position. We're going to be turned out for this. Most people, for this, there's a couple different turns you're going to try. Depends on the technique you're comfortable with. But first turn, we're just going to bring my right foot into a coupe position. We want to be turned out. See that nice little triangle there? So I want to bring my right foot in so I can stay over my left foot. My left foot will be relevated when I do this, which means my heel will be off the ground. So when I do this, I'm going to push off my right foot, lift, and go back down into my second position. I overshot it a little bit, but you get the idea. So when I do this, when I put this all together, I'm going to think about when I do this, it's just a mock. I'm going to toss. As I'm tossing and it hits my peak, I'm going to push off my right foot, turn, and then look for it the whole time. I want to make sure we're looking so I can catch. So remember, 3 separate motions. I'm going to toss, trick, which is my turn, spotting the whole time, looking up at my equipment so I can go for the catch. So remember, especially for this trick, separate your toss, your trick, and your catch. If you blend them together, you're going to release your equipment with you, and and that will end up in you either hurting someone else or yourself. We don't want either of those things. So now that I explained how to do that trick, how to separate our tricks from our tosses, as well as how to do our peak counts, I'll give you an example of how to do it right now. So now that you've had my lovely example of how to do a single turn, we're going to also explain how to do a double turn. Double turns are very complicated and are more of an advanced skill, so if you're not comfortable, I would suggest waiting until your single turns are consistent. One thing I always tell my students is that your tricks aren't consistent until you can hardly ever get them wrong. So try doing a trick 10 times in a row, and that will kind of give you a percentage. If you can do it 10 times out of 10, you got 100%, that's great, move on to other tricks. If you can do it 1 time out of 10, that's like 10%, you know? So we don't want to do tricks if we can't really do the basic version. So let's move on how to do a more complicated version if you're consistent with your single turns. So we're also going to look at my feet. This is a different type of turn. So for weapons, you're going to want to start in a plie. So that's how we'll start. We're going to be in this kind of odd position. My right foot is forward, my left foot is back. My toes are straight forward. I'm going to plie, so get nice and low, bend those knees. So I can use my right foot to push into a coupe position with my right foot, just like I did before, releve on the left, except this is why it makes it a little hard. You have to do that position twice in a row. So put my equipment down for you so I can show you. So I'm going to be here, pretend like I have my air rifle, I plie on my dip, I release, I push, and then catch. So notice it's a little bit harder of a technique, because typically if you try to do this, stop, and then go again, you've wasted too much time and your equipment's going to pass right by you. So the feet in themselves are very hard. If you can do a standard toss, you can obviously do a trick underneath it as long as you separate, like I said before. But the hardest part about a two-turn is being able to do a double coupe turn. So if you need to, literally when you're just bored and going around your house, just practice doing a double coupe turn. So that way you won't have any breaks between, because that will make this 1,000 times easier. It'll also make it more consistent for when you want to do more turns if you can. So let me give you a demonstration about how to do a two-turn on rifle. Alright, that will do it for our tutorial today. I hope you guys learned some new tricks, 1 or 2 possibly. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Special thank you to Slow Marching and Stephanie Chavez. That video really helped me learn my two turns. So they're really awesome. Go check them out. Thank you guys for watching. As always, if you have any recommendations for more tricks or things you want to see, let me know. But that's all I have for you today. Goodbye.